Welcome back, everybody, to week number 6 of Stage 2 of the Quake Pro League. My name's Ketchup, joined on the desk by ZSX. We're getting through today. We've got a bunch of games left to go. I believe the next one should be Base versus Vengeurr, which is, if memory serves me right, the run back of Stage 1, where it was Base and Vengeurr, and it was a weird one, right? We're so familiar with Base being like nearly unbeatable on Blood Run, and then Vengeurr being nearly unbeatable on Awoken. And then when they played at a major setting, it was a really important match. Base beat Vengeurr on Awoken, but then Vengeurr beat Base on Blood Run. And it was like, what is like this opposite day business that's going on?
I mean, Vengeurr's come on leaps and bounds. I think Base has always been one of those top tier players. He's definitely got a lot better in Quake Champions. Latter days of Quake Live, he was exceptional as well. But Vengeurr for me is hugely talented. Like, combat skill is almost unparalleled. His aim is right up there, and it seems like every day he's refining his whole skill set in terms of map control and overall awareness. So yeah, he's one of my favourites to watch for sure.
I just feel like for Vengeurr, it's all about the hunger and just celebrating young talent that, you spend so much of your young days watching the legends of Quake and looking up to them and wanting to be them one day. And then a few years later, you're Vengeurr and you're going up
You're
against,
one of those players.
Yeah, exactly. But it's only in part hugely just Vengeurr has just been a hungry competitor who has wanted to be good, and he's wanted to be top level, and he has just been grinding non-stop. Even, before Quake Pro League began, when there was a bit of a dry spell competitively, and there wasn't really a lot of the players, maybe they weren't even really playing Quake at that time, because they're kind of just waiting for the competitive news, and they're taking their foot off the gas, and then the grind begins, which it really was, and that grind was severe. Vengeurr was still there, playing Quake every day, streaming Quake every day. No matter how big or small of a community tournament was on, Vengeurr's entering it.
That's the way to progress, right? It's testament to his mindset and his dedication, and if he's put the hours in, he deserves everything he gets.
Now, up next, Base is... we always talk about players that start to ascend further with Quake Champions, and Base, again, has been one of those players. During the days of 2v2, he was such a ridiculous damage dealer, where you would always have him on a team and just stick Base on the team and he's probably going to get 30 frags.
Yeah, and I think people, again, underestimate his combat skill because he is quite defensive in his play sometimes, but in the same sense, it's not necessarily defensive. It's quite similar to CNZ, and he just loves these strong positions, and then when he's there, he will capitalise upon that fact that he has amazing hit scouting. And so don't underestimate him. He's a really, really strong player in those situations.
History has also proven to us that Base can bring it to Vengeurr. Yes. I feel like Vengeurr, he's been kind of historically a little bit of he's been having the edge, but Base has always made him work for it, and he makes him work hard for it. So this is definitely a matchup where it could definitely go 2-1. In fact, my prediction is 2-1. I'm not quite sure who I think I favour more. I think the easy one is to just think Vengeurr because of just how well he does in the weekly stages. It strongly feels like these weekly parts of Quake Pro League are kind of like Vengeurr's bread and butter. It feels like he can beat everyone this week.
I'd say Vengeurr 2-1. For me personally, that's my prediction, but it's easy to say that it could go both ways because it can, and that's factually right, but I'm still going to go with my guns.
Well, we have the vetoes again. We can find out what the journey is going to be, and as we can see here, we are starting things off on Awoken again. This time we're going to see the Doomslayer. Actually, I think that might be the first time we've seen Doomslayer today. Quite excited to see that. We have the Galena coming out from Base. Molten Falls up next. Nyx versus Ranger. Clutch removed, and I don't blame him going up against Vengeurr. It feels like the Maestro boys in general were fantastic with Clutch. And then finishing things off on the Vale of Pnath, it's going to be Ison and Sorlag, with again the Keel removed. Taking Keel away from Base, always a good idea.
Absolutely. Doom on Awoken is pretty much the meta pick. Very similar to Athena in the way in which you can control that mid-ground and maintain position particularly well. Galena is decent on that map with the totems around in the choke points. We just saw how effective Nyx is on Molten, but the difference is that now Nyx is up against a Ranger who can close those gaps a lot more effectively than Galena. And ultimately, Vale, we've got Sorlag, quite similar to Scalebearer in a way that you can really abuse your stack advantage, and we've seen Ison a few times today with the use of the turrets. There are a few tricky positions where that turret can be put to deal some amazing damage, and also give you some great information.
I'm just expecting a damn good match between these two. We always kind of know that historically Vengeurr has kind of been very difficult to beat on Awoken. Base has been able to conquer that in the past, so first map could definitely go either way. Molten Falls naturally going to potentially slow things down. Some Vengeurr looking likely that he has the idea to do the very same with that next pick, and then Vale at the very end. You know, we've seen Sorlag and large champions throughout the course of today how well they can do on that map.
Do you reckon that's a respect that Base picked Molten over Blood Run, even though Blood Run was available?
It's hard to say, because there's always the thought that perhaps a player doesn't want to become too well known for one map just in case you practice it too much and they ban it out. Or maybe it's like you have other things, and if everyone expects you for one map and then you pull what could be somewhat of a trump card or some kind of unpredictable thing that, you know, there's the potential that if everyone's expecting Blood Run, they practice Blood Run against whoever in preparation for your match against Base, and he doesn't pick Blood Run. It's like, well, okay, I've been practicing all this map and now I'm not even going to play on it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
What's your 2 cents?
I mean, I don't know how much Base has been practicing on Molten, but I mean the fact that, as you rightly pointed out earlier, that Vengeurr beat him on Blood Run last time, and it's Vengeur's second best map. I think it's probably slightly more of a respect bound than anything, because he knows probably that his Molten is on par for Base, but it might be Vengeur's one of his weaker matches, and it's one of those maps where Base can really slow it down. So we'll see.
I gotta say, either way, I'm just really excited for this. Of all the matches we've had today, this is kind of like one of those matches that you see and you go, whoa.
This one can't not be fun to watch.
We always have that on a weekly basis, that every time these matches come out, and actually I think that's why I really like this round robin system, that every week, there are some matches you look at and you go, oh, okay. But there are some matches that come up and you're like, you just feel it. You know, it makes you go, whoa. And I think this is one of them.
You go Super Saiyan now.
Oh no! I don't think that's the. Oh, that's not the sound. Can you imagine Goku being like, "I'm so mad," rather than
somewhere in between a mellow Super Saiyan.
I think Vengeurr's waiting for his moment to go Super Saiyan at the next LAN.
Yeah.
He has to. I mean, he's so close every time. But
Yes.
that's Vengeurr though, is that he's well known as being one of the best players on the planet for Quake Champions, but on LAN, he's never quite got that highest tier placing.
It's a different mentality on LAN for sure.
Oh, yeah.
He's quite young and new, so that steal will come, I'm sure.
I wonder if it's going to be Quake Pro League. That's the thing this year. If there's one of these LANs that Vengeurr's able to take, it just feels like every LAN that we have, there's some kind of like amazing storyline. Yeah. You know, for the first one, it was QuakeCon, the return of Kilson, where Kilson's able to kind of fulfill that personal promise he made to himself that I'll come back at a QuakeCon and I'll win it. You just wait. And then, you know, the second LAN, the return of Cooler finally getting that big win he'd spent like literal years trying to get.
Yeah.
And you know, I think there's some more stages to come, and there's more potential storylines for the people that win those tournaments, because we are going to have champions, whether they're new or
the return of
returning.
Cypher or the rise of Vengeurr. Is that the 2 options we have on the table?
Or Cooler again.
Or Cooler again.
Or Kilson again.
Yeah.
Or Rafa. There's Rafa.
All right, someone's going to win a tournament. Thank you.
This is our top tier analysis. There's a tournament and someone's going to win it.
Well, yeah. Put your bets here.
But I just believe we should be loading into our first map, so thank you very much for sticking with us so far. A little bit of a delay, but I think we're getting in there right now. So the first map, I think this does favour Vengeurr. It's kind of hard to count out Vengeurr on Awoken. It almost feels like 2 peas in a pod competitively, that he picks Awoken and you almost have a safe bet that he's going to do well on it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, whatever happens after that, I think remains to be seen. We'll see if the Blood Run pick or lack of Blood Run pick will work out for Base.
Yeah, and I think I'm really interested to see. My pinpoint in the matchup is going to be how Vengeurr adapts when Base inevitably slows the pace down. Having watched him and played against him, he likes the higher tempo. I mean, he's not averse to playing a slower game, but Base really has perfected that. And so what is Vengeurr going to do when that happens, particularly on Molten?
Vengeurr has been able to demonstrate that multiple styles are possible for him. It's so easy sometimes, I think, to compare Razy and Vengeurr kind of in a very similar boat, where you have 2 of the younger players that got involved in Quake Champions that were known for being kind of like very aggressive and having a sort of like a set style, like their own style at an early stage. And then the more they play and the more they compete, the more they kind of just expand on that repertoire. And, you know, Razy did that first, absolutely, to the point where Razy was considered kind of very, very just only aggressive in 2017. And as the tournament progressed and the years progressed, Razy is one of the most versatile players we have in the world right now. And Vengeurr's kind of had that almost exact same journey, where if the pace is slowed down, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue for Vengeurr. I think he can conquer it. The question is how quickly can he kind of change gears when necessary.
For sure, and it is a common trend where the newer players come in with stronger mechanical skill, better aim. It might be a byproduct that they're living in an age with much better mice and keyboards and technology, and aim is a much more prevalent factor within Quake, whereas the older school players who were brought up on, time limit 15, where duel was a lot more strategical, there were more layers to it, and because of they played on ball mice and stuff where aim really and really bad ping, so aim was like you had to work around having crap aim.
So that was before my time. So I'm assuming, did you compete with the ball mouse back in the day?
No, I didn't compete. I used to play Quake back with the ball mouse, but I was like a kid.
I couldn't even navigate my desktop on the ball mouse. I don't know how anyone would have.
I think John04, I think he won QuakeCon on the ball mouse if I remember rightly.
Oh my god. I wonder if he specifically cleaned it before the match.
I don't know.
I imagine he'd clean it right.
I might be making that up, but I pretty remember that. I'm pretty sure that was what happened.
That is, for me though, that's really impressive. Like genuinely, like the unsung, the unsung heroes of like the old days of esports, like predominantly with like the Quake scene that had to overcome hurdles that we just take for granted these days. I get a new mouse, like loads of the players now, loads of the competitive Quake players now play on like wireless mouse as well. Like, especially the Maestro crew, they love playing on the wireless mouse.
100%. But I mean that in itself, the fact you were brought up with those factors and essentially those limitations meant you had to develop your game in a different way, and so of course that you will have naturally built a more rounded dueling skill set. Whereas, because I'm one of the players who traditionally relied on aim, unless you take a conscious effort to really think about your game and develop it in a certain way, it's much easier just to build your game based on aim. And that in itself is really limiting.
Well, I do believe, thank you very much for your patience, folks. We are up and running now, Vengeurr versus Base, for our first map of the series. We're going to see if Vengeurr follows through with what he's known for. Base immediately going in with the rails. He does hit some damage, but doesn't want to overstay his welcome too much. But a very weak Vengeurr misses the initial rail. And hang on a minute, Berserk! My man just seeing red right now.
That's one way to push Base away.
Punch him in the face.
Quite an aggressive start for the first 20 seconds.
I honestly would expect nothing less of Vengeurr. He's just so not afraid to go for the very unorthodox, aggressive plays. Like he can be conservative when he wants to, but yeah, when those moments break out, it's like, oh, this Vengeurr going off again.
He's done enough now to push Base away. Good angle there.
Ah, we didn't even touch on this. Yeah, we are seeing Galena on Awoken, and the insane angles are aplenty. We saw Razy with the. Oh my god, I'm just remembering that set now. It was on Awoken and it was Galena. And it just new totems that we'd never even seen before. Flea and I were just like jaw on the floor for some of these locations. We're like, what is even going on here?
Oh, direct rocket. Base has to get out of there. But just stuck around for half a second to deal damage, knowing that Vengeurr didn't have time to switch weapon to finish him off.
Base happy to control this half of the map. Keep those rail angles aplenty. Again, it's Galena, so she can kind of fortify this side, constantly heal up. As long as she controls the heavy comfortably, she doesn't necessarily need to overextend and get the mega. Because she can just heal up whenever she wants to. This will eat into the cooldown quite nicely, though, if she gets the mega now. However, the fight, and probably looking for the rocket there. Suicide was unfortunate, but there was death there either way. I'm just sure Base would have much rather the rocket have hit Vengeurr rather than himself.
Yeah, and Vengeurr doing a good job now of jumping in just for some little bit of pressure, and because Base was ready to retaliate, backing back out. Not overcommitting. Nice.
Ooh. That was a savagely quick rail there from Vengeurr. Now it's currently 2 frags to 0. Technically, anyway. Mega's just about to spawn. Looks a lot like Base might not be in a position to really fight for it. Spawning on the half of the map that doesn't have access to the rail. So, were you half expecting him to fall off there? I don't know.
I was a little bit.
He was really close.
I mean, that's one way to put a totem. If he finds that, I'll be very impressed.
Oh yeah, I assume probably not. There are some of these totems that have been discovered that you can put them really high up on the map, and you have to use like nail gun boosts and stuff to reach them. Now Base able to retreat. As long as he keeps the totem out of sight and out of mind as well, that means that he can stack them up. Eventually giving himself the overstack whenever he wants to.
But Vengeurr's doing such a great job of just continually whittling down Base and forcing him to use totems for the healing ability. But at the same...
Drop down, here we go. Should be a pretty easy fight here for Vengeurr. That was, as a saving grace, at least base able to get some decent damage on the rocket, so Vengeurr is weak. Able to get the Mega now, and topping him up on the armor. And now there's the Overstack. Who needs a Mega when you've got 3 totems up and running? That's what I can see now, base. Going in full speed ahead. Trying to really win this fight as much as he can. Minimal damage on the LG though, which is really unfortunate for him. Vengeurr able to come off better in the fight again. And now has to try and get his totem back. Can he potentially regenerate here? Looking for another placement. Is he going to go for another strange place?
He is.
Nice.
Still didn't fall off. He's going to fall off one day. Oh, nice. Super shotgun there, but he is going to die. Vengeurr's just putting on the pressure here.
All the time it takes for base to place, and actually some spam coming out there from Vengeurr on top of the rail to trap him on the spawn. Just damage layered on top of more damage. And Vengeurr, he's wise to it. He knows there are totems around. I think that's his aggression, his use of the rockets at close range. There's likely that every time he takes a fight here against Galena, she's gonna be overstacked. So Vengeurr's just like maximizing the damage as much as possible. Doesn't help him in this fight though, as base wins that LG 1v1.
Yeah, and it was down to that overstack. Came away with less than he would have picked up, so...
It's got to be quite scary going up against a talented Galena that knows the totem locations. You know it's going to be hard for you to take down the totems when necessary. And then you have the understanding that even if he's not near the Mega, there's a good chance this player is going to have loads of health. A lot more than I would normally expect. But the rockets, that's the thing. You're expecting Galena to be overstacked all the time. The only problem is, you're up against Vengeurr, who has been told to have multiple times the best rockets in the world. Now that's definitely what Zoot says, that he thinks that Vengeurr has got the best rockets in the business. And if you're against someone with the best rockets in the business, that's max damage, overstack or not.
Yeah, for sure. Do think that base maybe he's putting a little bit too much emphasis on this rather cheesy tactic, but still only 3-0 with 5 minutes to go, so...
Vengeurr very railable with 61 HP. And maybe not so much now, he's been able to get the light armor. Heavy is in play, and there's the timing for Vengeurr. At least able to listen out for it. Ten seconds left until the Mega. It really hasn't been so much about these major pickups, at least for base. Base has spent a lot of this map essentially just fortifying himself. The problem is, it hasn't really helped him get the win. He's still 3 frags behind here. Vengeurr's not even really fussed taking out those totems. He knows that base isn't anywhere near them. Gets some entry damage on the rocket. Looking real good, looking for extra damage here. Too far away for the rocket to count. Oh, nice. The angle. Cute stuff from Vengeurr, but he's still railable. And base is going to go through accordingly and seize the damage he's after. 1 to 3. Base is very weak, but the LG is fantastic. And just like that, he's put himself back into the fight, and there is plenty of time to not only tie things up and make it 3-3, but to ascend and actually take the lead here on Awoken.
No, and now base has got control, so we're going to have to see what Vengeurr can do on the defense. Huge amount of damage, but base is just going to be able to restack.
Just re-heal, and there's the overstack all the way through. And the heavy armor. But that is some insane LG coming out from Vengeurr. The fact he was even able to take base down to the HP he was at was insane, but it wasn't enough to survive. Pressure off the spawn, Vengeurr, Berserk, and the Berserk, he's still going to die. At least 2 more punches to kill base in that situation. And the problem was the rail. I love the rail. When you're in Berserk, you are locked into melee. You can't cancel the Berserk like some of the other abilities. You have to just let it rock, and you can't shoot in that state.
No, base just wanted to get the hell out of there. Vengeurr did steal both major items, but base did enough damage to make it a relatively even game. That rocket was good though.
Missing some of these rails, unfortunately. That really is a little bit tragic for Vengeurr. Desperately needs to get as many of these rails as he can. As long as you keep a Galena surviving, she's able to put those totems back down and heal back up. Like, it's going to take at least a couple more rails to even deal with base in this situation.
Yeah,
maybe not so much now the rocket connected. He's looking for the angle, looking for it.
And what base has done is self-evidently, he's put 2 of his 3 totems outside, and so he's constantly using that 3rd totem as a restocking mechanism and then for the overstack. So yeah, smart little gimmicky tactic, but it's worked really well once he's got it set up.
But now he has got it set up. There's less than 2 minutes. Going in with the LG, Vengeurr definitely does not want to go through that jump pad. That is a suicide mission. So he has to look for other angles, alternative methods here. The problem is, as long as he's getting hit by these rails and not returning the damage, he's just a little bit of a sitting duck here for base. He has to take all this time
100%.
to disengage.
In the last 3 or 4 minutes, base has definitely been coming out on top on his rail trades. That and having the overstack and control, Vengeurr's been really on the back foot. But it is 4-4.
It's only just changed now too. Like, that's the first time base has gone for the Mega in quite some time. The benefit of Galena building up all those totems, that she just doesn't need the Mega as much as other champions would. Having that match, like that much HP on demand, when you already control the heavy thanks to it. Like, that's kind of all you need in these situations. Vengeurr pushing in, taking a lot of damage though. He has to be so careful as he goes in now. This could very well be the final fight, the fight that decides the map.
That was close, that rocket.
Misses the rail. Base in with the quick movement, able to cut down some of the benefit.
But what he does is he takes away the Mega from Vengeurr.
And now the totems come into play. Information for base. Base knows what he's looking at now. Denying the light. Not that it's going to make a huge difference at this stage if he doesn't get to retreat to this side, but every little helps at this point. Has to watch out for these totems, and he can't give up a single rail angle. He does not have the stack. These Galena totems have just been keeping base crazy healthy. But hang on a minute, some entry damage, rocket into rail. That's a good start. We're absolutely going into a 1-frag situation. We can ignore the clock at this point, because now sudden death is about to start. Beautiful
Nice.
rockets, and base is hurting after that. If Vengeurr is able to squeeze his way into this map win, it's going to be absolutely incredible stuff. The fortitude to just sit and look for the one moment. But base has done a lot of return damage. Watch out for the rail though. And now base has the chance to go in. Gives himself a rail angle, doesn't quite hit the shot. But now Vengeurr, he's hurting and he's in trouble.
That was a pixel rail by base. Would have ended the game. Vengeurr has snuck out, but he's got nothing to work with.
Watch out for the rail angles. He's railable with his health. Tribolt will kill him. Rocket will kill him. Oh, this is a minefield he's having to navigate here. And all the while, base is just dropping totems, healing constantly, time after time. And he's going through the jump pad now. I mean, Vengeurr, he knows where he is. The question is, what can he do about it? Base is on the warpath, full steam ahead. He's going in for the kill. Can he do it? He can't! 2 rockets, 1 each way. And base gets the map win on Awoken for a second time in Pro League.
Impressive. I mean, I wasn't 100% sold on the initial overstacking tactic, but that's because it did take him a good 2-3 minutes to get it fully up and running. But once it was up and running, as you rightly pointed out, like, he could just maintain that side of the map, concentrate on the heavy armor, and really capitalize upon the openness of the Mega area.
And that is very much I'd like to say, the evolution of Awoken, because that's not the first time we've seen that tactic used. We did see that in other Quake Pro League broadcasts. It's definitely a strategy adopted now by people that use Galena, highly knowledgeable on the totem locations, and on Awoken there are just so many places that Galena can put them that it completely transforms just the meta and the flow of the map. Like,
sure.
How many times did we see base even look at the banana side of the map?
No, and I think as a player, the evolution to counter that is you're going to have to be more aware of that strategy, and all it takes is for Vengeurr to spend 5 seconds to head run that corner and blow 2 of them up, and then you just set Galena's whole workflow back, a good 2 minutes. So yeah, it's a bit gimmicky, but it definitely worked, and there were many fights, at least 3 or 4 fights that counted that base won because of it. And
you also look at what happens as a knock-on effect to that even if it's kind of seen as like a gimmicky strategy, or maybe it's not crazy future-proof or anything, like maybe there are direct counters at play. If they know it's happening, we can just do this, we can just do that. Fundamentally though, in Pro League you only have 1 map to win per series of that, so if you're going up against someone in a round robin and you may not play them again until maybe you just clash heads with them at the stage finals at the end of that stage, you're putting them into that 1 map situation, and if they don't adapt then and there, That's it. That's the map win. That's it. You haven't got to do it again. That was like the one shot. So you can totally understand why those kind of strategies can get used, because it's like, hey, look, if you're not ready for it at the very beginning and I get the map win from it, that was your only chance, because we're not playing on that map ever again.
And that was Vengeurr's map as well.
Yeah.
And as you said, like, he's generally unbeatable on that map, and as much as it was close, Base didn't really look phased for a lot of it. Vengeurr had a lot of pressure for the first 2 minutes, and Base just played his game, did his thing.
Base historically makes Vengeurr sweat when they play. And, I mean, that's kind of exactly why. Base just doesn't fear Vengeurr, it feels. He just goes in with his own game plan, his own solid mind.
You can't bully Base. Like, he's, as I said, he matched Vengeurr for his aim throughout. And when that happens, you've got to just play better. It's as simple as that.
And we're going in for a natural change of pace now. Nyx versus Ranger. Vengeurr with the Nyx, though. Likely that maybe Vengeurr's going to try and play some slow pace of his own. And Base with the burst damage, the mobility of the orb. We're going to see who comes off on top here. If Base gets 2-0 versus Vengeurr now, it's a great start for him. He's already... I mean, both these players are already just fine for points, but... You know, bragging rights and all that.
100%, yeah. This is more than points.
Yeah, Base got that information. All right, I'm going to go back and get this Mega then. And now, there's Base setting up shop kind of in this half of the map. Content kind of just sitting tight. Has all the weapons he needs to get something done, so he doesn't need to push super hard just yet. Always the chance that Nyx is going to spring a trap for you. If she's got the Ghost Walk available, she's got that kind of get out of jail free card in essence. And now Base is, yeah, he hasn't really made a single inch of noise the entire map so far.
No, just letting Vengeurr pick up the major items pretty much for free. He does have the rail, so he can put some pressure on if he needs to.
Looking for a rail angle. Doesn't quite hit the shot. Vengeurr looking to get a combo there, but he does hit a rail all the same.
Might need to orb to get out of here.
Base, confidence in his ability to escape without the orb. Gotta respect that. Can go pear-shaped quite easily. Oh, the only thing Base hurts there is himself.
Nice play by Vengeurr.
And a really good start for Vengeurr too. Kind of running around the circuit, getting as many items as he can. Is able to beat him. I love that orb placement though from Base, able to kind of disengage and get out quickly into a better position. Wow! That rocket hurt so much. Ooh. Oh, misses the rail. This could be punished by a frag.
Well, I don't think Base has a rail, so quite easy for Vengeurr to back off, play the distance game now, abuse the fact that he has that advantage.
Ah, of course he would have spawned their LG side. And now going towards the heavy fight. Base kind of not really able to get in and out safely. There's no dire orb available, so the escape option isn't there, but he's got a lot of damage at least. And now with the Mega about to spawn again. You would assume Base, yeah, he collected a rail on the way.
Yeah. So now it is a bit more even, but Vengeurr, with that trade and the Ghost Walk off cooldown, he could use it offensively, but that rail might set him back in terms of his intentions. Nice.
Ooh. Excellent rail coming out from Vengeurr.
Yeah,
just in time.
Completely anticipated what Base was going to do there. Might Ghost Walk here.
Looks like he's just confident taking the damage so far. Nice little low cut rocket jump just for the double jump to come through there. Base, that's a rocket jump of his own. He's set up perfectly for Vengeurr to punish that rocket jump with a guaranteed rail. There was a 0% chance he was missing that one. And he's timed it perfectly for every attack so far has taken roughly 30 seconds to execute. Then he just comes back and gets the heavy.
Stopwatch.
Here comes Vengeurr once more. No reason really to push too hard so far. It's only 3.5 minutes on the clock, but hang on, the aggressive Ghost Walk. Sets up the rocket, and just the discipline to rocket just a little bit later. This, by all means, should result in a free frag here. Base is going to really just squeeze his way through if he's able to survive, but the aggressive Ghost Walk, you do rarely see it. It is one of the riskiest plays I think you can do at this level of Quake, because it's so easy for it to go wrong. And then you lose your comfort zone, your ability to escape if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, but when you're that stacked and you have the weaponry advantage, it's a pretty safe bet to play. But now you see him, he is playing particularly defensive because he has 10 seconds to go. And without that, yeah, you are very vulnerable. Nice.
Ooh, a little bit of
know
accidental extra damage from base. Definitely was probably not expecting to land on a second rocket. Throwing his rocket jump off axis.
Definitely pushing for the kill here. Great play by Vengeurr.
Yeah, Vengeurr is just absolutely... It just feels like he's so far ahead of base at the moment.
And now, yeah, base is being forced to be more aggressive now. Five frags on this map is quite a lead.
With the Ghost Walk in play, life is only going to be a lot harder for base to actually press the issue and force something. Vengeurr just content doing, you know, what we see a lot of Nixers do. Sit in the bottom center of the map, just listen out for some information if it's there. The aggressive Ghost Walk again, you said it right, if the stack's available. He's going in, getting some decent rockets. Base not really able to fight back. Can he beat him to the punch? The rockets work again. 6 frags to 0.
Is he going to get the spawn? Yes, he is.
He gets a decent spawn. And Vengeurr extremely weak. Just looking to double back and not really give base too much information. But that wasn't a terrible spawn. Oh!
He does have the rail though. But base, I think he backs off to get it right now. Yes, he does.
Ooh! Excellent rocket coming out from Vengeurr. Base with a massive stack, but the sheer size of Molten Falls now means that Vengeurr, he can start to sort of change his strategy a little bit. He can keep doing what he's doing, where he kind of listens for the information, looks to continue to take some of these important things away from base, these important moments like the pickups, but with the lead this big and the Ghost Walk constantly available.
Yeah, I imagine he'll play very similar to where we saw Waz playing.
Base. Does he choose to go in? He doubles back and Vengeurr looks for another fight. Oh, he goes for a cheeky highlight reel flick. And it doesn't matter that it misses because base falls into the trap of the rocket. All the same. That would have been a fantastic frag if the rail connected, but it still resulted in a 7-0. It doesn't matter at all because the lead is insane for Vengeurr right now. And he's looking like he absolutely might take this, making it a 1-1. I think we always grow to expect close games when these guys go head-to-head. It just feels like it's a rite of passage every time.
Oh, he should be going down here.
Maybe not. Oh, if he hit the 2 rockets direct. I know that's he just had to hit the rockets 2 direct, right? But that's hard.
Just.
But if he did it, there was a potential there. But Vengeurr, I think there's confidence coming out of him here. Like he's putting himself in situations where he is taking fights in situations where he knows there is a very low chance of survival unless he does this crazy stuff. I just think he's so confident he can do it that he's just doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's some LG. Painful. Should be another frag, but that's a defensive play. Quite get the rocket jump he's after here. A little bit delayed. And now, Vengeurr, he's still sitting on a comfortable lead. That was a great fight for base and a great frag all the same. The danger is that there's 2 minutes left on the clock and a lot of work to do. Base going in for the rail.
Good Ghost Walk.
Ooh, very nearly a perforation. Right, it's going to break in Vengeurr's rockets. They've just been the real star performer of this map so far. Vengeurr's rockets have been phenomenal.
Yep, absolutely. Whenever base wants to make a move, there is rockets to greet him, so he's always going in on the back foot.
Too risky down to fight for Mega. I mean, at that point, he must have felt like he had to dedicate. He was too close, he can't escape. But it's all kind of falling apart. 8 frags separate these 2 players now. Less than 2 minutes on the clock. I'm about to say this one's done for sure.
I think you're right there.
Oh, the rockets from Vengeurr. I feel like his rails haven't quite complemented his rockets so far, but the rockets have been sublime. Like when it comes to rails that are set up from someone retreating and stuff, Vengeurr is doing, he's catching base just fine, but the moment the rail was kind of like, the final shot of the highlight reel moment, he's not quite able to hit the shot. With 10-1 so far, this is kind of just a victory lap period here, I think, for Vengeurr. Just needs to kind of sit. He's looking for those crazy rockets at the moment. Didn't quite hit them, but every frag base gets here. It's going to be nice for morale, I suppose, but really not much impact can be made. Getting 8 frags in 1 minute, I mean, on a map like Molten as well, which is as big as it is.
No, this has been a brutal game for base. He should feel manhandled by Vengeurr, in all honesty. Didn't get a look in pretty much throughout.
It's almost like ironic, the statement before we loaded into this. You can't bully base. You very rarely bully base.
True.
Ask and you shall receive. But I gotta admit, I don't see this either. You very rarely see base lose in this fashion. But it's the impressive turnaround for Vengeurr. Losing on Awoken, the way base was able to just really dig his heels in and make it so tricky for Vengeurr. The fact that Vengeurr can somewhat just return the favor and with a little bit of dominance of his own. Poetic, really, and it's what we can grow to expect when two players of this caliber collide. Remember, both these players are significantly high on the global leaderboards. Like, they are doing just fine.
Ring out.
And that's a ring out. Feels bad, man. 5 seconds on the clock. GG's. And we're going into our final map, which is going to be the decider for sure.
That was much better showing from Vengeurr. I thought base played exceptionally well in the first game. Vengeurr looked a bit, not a bit rusty, but it didn't look like his usual self. Whereas this game, he looked super confident.
I'm looking at the control too, and it looks pretty even.
But look at the damage: 36-56 to 22-37. That is insane, despite the fact that control was even.
It just comes down to Vengeurr's fights.
Exactly.
The rockets made such difference.
And that's why I'm saying Bay should feel very beaten up by that game, because he couldn't do anything. Like, Vengeurr wasn't suffocating the map, but wherever base was going, Vengeurr was dealing damage, and whenever they went into a fight, base was barely leaving a scratch on him.
Well, it looks like at the end game screen, base asked for a couple of minutes, so I assume he's going to be going away for a quick break or something. So there's at least whatever is going on, there's time for him to kind of just recuperate as we load into the third map, right? And we have plenty of replays to go through, I think, so we can break down how some of those frags went while base recuperates and gets ready for the final map, which is going to be the decider between these two players. I just think it's so common now that when they play it kind of goes this way. But it's great. It's the kind of content you tune in for. It's what you want to see. But these kind of moments where Vengeurr, it seems so heavily like he's had a read on the movement. The movement in the fights was good. His rockets were phenomenal. And consistently putting base in situations where there's not even a hope that he can run away either.
No, and you should look at these fights, and it's Vengeurr doing damage. Base is not touching him, ever. Vengeurr's positioning is better. He was letting base pick up items and making sure he was the one doing the damage onto those items. And the items that Vengeurr was getting were all clean. So base was on the back foot the entire game.
That would have been a despicably good frag. That rocket was still good. That rocket was still good, but yeah, this was that moment where Vengeurr, we get the health that base had left. It's a very kind of common Vengeurr play. I think when he has such a massive lead, he will go for those ridiculously insane fights. It's just in his nature. I think it's kind of like part of the young blood, part of the confidence.
Just looks like he's having fun, really.
Oh, yeah.
He's just enjoying it, trying out some stuff. And you can. It's one of those things where you're just feeling it. So I like to see that.
But the moment you're in the zone, or you feel like you're in the zone, you're in such a good position to just do all the basic stuff well too. If you're kind of feeling yourself and you start going for the ridiculous shots and the ridiculous highlight reel moments, then when we go into the next map and you got to do all the basic stuff, that's easy. Yeah. You just do it blindfolded at this stage.
Yeah, you got to earn it though.
It's always nice. It is always nice watching players in a competitive setting, which they just look like they're actively just having so much fun with what they're doing. You get the same vibes. It's why I get such similar vibes from both Razy and Vengeurr, because they do that kind of weird stuff all the time. Like, if they have a massive lead, they'll just start playing with their food. Because there's definitely an air of cockiness that comes with it. Like, there's definitely not arrogance, though, cockiness. I think there's a distinct difference between the two of them. But if you're on the receiving end of that, it can be quite intimidating, I can imagine. I'm not saying that base gets intimidated, but if you're against this guy that's just jumping around in rockets, flick rail, and you're just like, dude, we're playing in a tournament match. What are you doing?
It's very disheartening, but like you said, he deserves it. He plays well. Why not?
Oh, absolutely.
If you could do it, do it.
But if he plays like that on the next map, then there is a very strong potential for a 2-1. But
what is next map?
Oh my god, you know what? I've got the worst. Vale. You know what? You'll never believe me, but I was going to say Vale. Because the Keel was taken away from base. So I was like, oh yeah, Vale. Yeah, you wouldn't ban Keel really from other maps.
No, you're right.
With the exception maybe of Blood Run. I've seen Keel a little bit on Blood Run before.
Yeah, they're the two maps I would pick him on, but I'm not a fan.
But it's going to be we'll see what comes through there. I believe we're still waiting for base. I imagine he's coming back in a little minute, so we'll be seeing what happens in this final map. But it's time to just refresh and kind of reset the situation. So the first map dominant in favor of base. Second map, dominant in favor of Vengeurr. It just opens up a third map into like a giant question mark. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Who knows?
But off what we just saw, if I could give you an on-the-spot prediction, are you still going with Vengeurr?
Yes, I am.
I believe Vengeurr picked Ison on this map. I should have wrote it down. Really, I didn't write it down.
Someone picked Bison.
That was the rookie mistake.
Yeah,
the rookie mistake.
What was the other pick?
I don't even know. Because the keel was removed, and then it was Ison one side. Oh my god! I did know this.
There is a champion.
There is a champion in the game that was selected to be put with great use and effectiveness. They could be light. They could be heavy.
Maybe medium.
They could be medium. And they've got a passive that would work well on this map. And I can't wait to see it. Let's go base.
What the hell is it?
I don't know. I've never had a complete... It's Solag!
Oh, come on.
Oh my god.
It's literally the only one that didn't come to my mind. And you got Ison wrong, base picked it.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah.
Oh my god, we're on form.
Yeah, it's getting late.
Is it?
No. Well, yeah. It is. It definitely is. Definitely is rule. It's like midnight here, guys. I promise. Anyway, starting things off now. Vengeurr going in. But the immediate Ison versus Solag. We've seen Vengeurr on the smaller maps with the Solag put to really good use purely because of just it is that oppressiveness. This crazy ability of just it is his confidence. You know, when he knows the time is right to go in, he can be obnoxiously aggressive with Solag here. And
yeah, man, that's what I imagine to do. The reason I'm not a massive fan of the Ison pick is that lack of maneuverability, and as if you don't have the turret around, you're kind of exposed, and so I do feel that Vengeurr can exploit that weakness.
But he's in a bit of a tricky position.
The
jump pad of no return right there.
And the one issue with staying alive there, and I know this sounds ridiculous, is that now he's given up map control from all items.
Yeah, there's really nothing he can do.
Because if he died earlier, he could have probably got on a weapon and taken up a better position, but because he died so late, he's kind of just screwed himself.
A very confident play from Vengeurr, who is actually going to make chase in this situation. Opting to not go for the Mega immediately. Then, there's a couple of reasons there. The first one is, I think I can jump down, get the frag, and then, get my stack back up with the Mega. And then at the same time, it almost naturally doubles up as a delay.
Oh my god.
Going in for the machine gun.
Well, he ran out of ammo.
But that delay does really mean that Vengeurr's in a great position to go and get that heavy. Has to watch out. And actually, before I even say that, definitely a lot more damage than Vengeurr was potentially expecting to take in that situation.
Yeah, all because of that poor ammo situation. Took an extra rail when he really didn't need to, and allowed base to get onto him in the off the spawn.
And there's that immediate rail. Yeah, Vengeurr, you can see what he tried to do. He put that delay on the Mega in between the two, of which there is still a sizable delay here, but the second the fight took place near heavy was... I think he was kind of trying to get some damage and then go get heavy for himself, and before he even knows it, bam, he's dead.
Yep.
And pick up the fight. Rocket
nice.
jumping, though. Vengeurr with the movement, absolutely catching base off guard. And our base is quite weak here. Perfect position to go and take that Mega. Vengeurr, no choice but to concede it, really. There is that everlasting delay, though, in between the two major pickups here, so it's not going to be the end of the world. And he's having to put a lot of care into these situations. You don't want to go face first into a Solag on a map like this, even if she's not got overstack and you have stack. As long as that acid spit is ready, looks like it's been used.
Absolutely. Ison is a difficult champion to play well. It does require perfect positioning, but that is definitely one of base's strengths.
Ooh, looks a little bit like he wasn't quite prepared for Vengeurr to be there. Saving grace though. No damage was done, although Vengeurr tried to take a shot, wasn't quite ready there. But now, base. Thing is, he's not the one that's in the lead currently. Vengeurr with the 2-1. This is a position for Vengeurr to just run the cycle of the maps, try not to give up too much. Right now, it's about peppering down those rockets, trying to keep base as far away from the heavy as you can. Base clearly trying to hit an angle here to just inch off some of that armor benefit. But now they're going to go for a straight-up trade at almost the exact same frame, it looks like.
Good rail.
Ooh, two good rails. Forcing the acid spit. That's actually somewhat of a win for base, because it just means that the next time they have a fight, he just doesn't have to worry about the acid spit burst damage up close.
Nope, and he has his turret up as well.
You can keep the turret when need be. The second it goes down, you can just get it ready to rock.
You can see the that positioning of the turret on the teleporter, very similar to the same way you use a totem. I think he took both out at the same time with that rail.
And a heavy. What a reward.
And a spawn.
Perfect rocket. Oh my word. Seems like he was just so ready for base's spawn there. He fired that rocket so far in advance. Still hit its mark almost perfectly. And now he's chasing it down. Here comes Vengeurr. Getting clipped by a rail. Acid spit ready to go. Let's get rid of that troublesome turret. Get out of the way.
4-1, 5 minutes gone. Decent lead, but not enough on Vale.
There is going to be that natural benefit from Sorlag. Doesn't take damage from Acid, so she can kind of just run around the map willy-nilly, not have to worry too much about it. Pressuring in with the LG. Gives up one rail shot, though.
Yeah, that really should have been a frag to Vengeurr. Some poor rockets coming out from him.
Ooh.
That was the turret.
Yeah, the turret's definitely dead. I mean, it was just from that angle, it was cool. I just thought it just looked like a full shot. Base is going to go down, though, either way. Turret first, base second.
But he has taken a lot of damage, so as much as he will stack up, base had an opportunity. But the split on the major items does favour Vengeurr.
And now we're on that 5-minute warning. The problem is, you're actually noticing there's a lot more care coming out from base, and that was a great rail.
Takes a bit more desperation coming out. There was a period of time where he was playing quite slow, hitting some great rails, keeping Vengeurr on his toes, but not doing enough to pressure Vengeurr off the map. Whereas now he's definitely feeling the heat.
So it's quite a double-edged sword when you have to try and force the advantage onto a majorly stacked Sorlag who's essentially just waiting for you to be at that range. Vengeurr, no acid spit in sight. Doesn't even matter. He doesn't even need it. Just sit down there happy, wait for the cooldown to come back. The stack is there. He's just been stacking himself up nicely.
Playing very similar to the way that Rafa played this map with Scalebearer earlier. Just playing that corridor fashion, trying to force fights, close combat fights when you've got the overstack. Oh
ooh,
no!
Telefrag, best case scenario.
That's one way to get back into the game.
Yeah, no accuracy needed right there. Just goes in for the fight. You can see base, he was really trying to force that fight too.
Yeah.
That Telefrag was like best case scenario for sure. And now in this position, we'll see if he can actually get something from it, because there is time. There is definitely time.
Particularly now, he's just got map control in an instant and a frag.
Turret's going to distract for a little while. Oh, they collide, full speed. The point-blank super shotgun is going to hurt, but it's not going to really stop it. Base at risk of going down, but a great defensive rocket, thanks to the small healths.
That was some amazingly quick thinking from base. He got caught off guard and swapped to the shotgun rather than the rocket because he didn't want to deal damage to himself.
Now he's looking for the top down. Base, I mean, this is kind of like a panic mode. 5 frags to go and 2.5 minutes to get the job done. Quite a tall order versus Vengeurr. He's had quite a high success rate with Sorlag in Quake Pro League. It's one of his stronger champions.
Yeah, it allows him to be aggressive, use his combat skill to most effectiveness, close the gap on his opponent. Definitely feel that it fits his playstyle.
Just one of those moments. Base going around the corner. Vengeurr's just sitting pretty behind a pillar, and he's not interested in giving his position away at all. And he's going to get a frag for it. Doesn't even matter that he's weak. He's perfectly timed it now. He's near the Mega. See you later, turret. Get out of my business. And it's looking like the bleakest of situations, LSX. I think we get here so commonly. A real point of no return. He's going in with the LG, pressuring it. We'll see what can be done if he gets good spawns, but it's a heavy champion with a fresh stack. All Sorlag needs to do is spawn near a decent weapon, and if Vengeurr is able to constantly do enough damage, it becomes quite tricky. Gauntlet, as optimized as he can get fresh off the spawn, I suppose. 4 frags to go in a 1.5 minutes. I mean, if he gets a good spawn, it's half possible. I'm not going to count him out until the very last minute for the sake of hope, but we'll see.
No, but quite right. He needs something right now.
Uh-oh.
This is the chance.
Hang on. Ah, he's bleeding so much. He's taking so much damage. And that is it.
That is it.
Gave it a good go. well worth the effort, but Vengeurr doing the right thing. He knows that Base is in desperation mode, and Base is the one that has to basically be full top speed. And if he's top speed, he's going to run right into a rocket and acid spit combo.
Exactly. So Vengeurr just taking up positions where he knows he has the combat advantage. Perfect rockets to finish off Base there. Well played by Vengeurr.
Yeah, this is going to end up in a 2-1 victory. Kid Bellissimo just gets so strong every time the weeklies come about. That just seems to not matter. Whoever the opponent, Vengeurr holds his own, other times wins. It's just, yeah, it's been a great result for him. This map has just been a great display of the moment he knows he has the lead, springing the traps where necessary. Base, this is kind of just him doing everything he can now, but ultimately, you know, you're in a position where you've got a forced hand. You have to just go full speed ahead. There's no time to be careful anymore.
I thought he got an air rocket there.
That would have been sick. Yeah. But game over. 2-1.
Good game.
GG's from Base. Vengeurr's going to take the win this week, giving himself more points. And neither of these players need the points. This is definitely a matchup where it's about bragging rights and just personal growth, feeling good that you beat one of the best players in the world. Either way.
Yeah, and I think he was a bit annoyed, actually. He went down on the first map. I think he looked a little bit frustrated in those 2 games. So, I don't... Maybe he doesn't like losing Awoken. I don't know, but...
There's also the manner of which Vengeurr lost Awoken to that you know, very unorthodox Galena strategy, which we've seen before, yes, but still, if you're kind of famous for a map and then someone comes on with a strategy that's just weird and something you're not used to...
It's quite telling it took a little bit of a gimmick to Base to take a map. So.
I almost feel like that goes back to... You know what we said at the very beginning of the series, where if the only time you play someone, though, in the weeklies or whatever it is, you just get that one map on the one time you play him, and that's it. It's fair. That's points in the bag, you know? So it's kind of like, even though that's how things went down, it was still enough to get the job done. But Vengeurr reminding us all why he's one of the best players in the world. The online weeklies remaining Vengeurr's complete comfort zone. But the other 2 maps were a lot more one-sided. It was just constantly Vengeurr. Calculated aggression when necessary. When he felt confident, he'd go for some. I mean, the rockets have been a fantastic asset throughout the entire night. His rockets have been the best of the players we've seen so far, and that is no surprise. It is said that he's got the best rockets in the business, and he proved why today.
Yeah, and we saw 2 very different playstyles coming out on these final 2 maps from Vengeurr. A much more calculated, methodical playstyle on Molten, and here he was just outright aggression and pressure. Very similar to the way that we saw Rafa playing it. So it's nice to see him mixing it up. And again, really adapting to the strengths of the champions he's playing.
As we can see here, just running a victory lap at this stage. This was the kind of unfortunate point where you just have no choice but to make something happen. You know, you can be as careful as you want at some point, and then when you've got no time, you have to just kind of just pile your face into a match and just hope for the best. And Base, not going to be really a knock of his confidence or anything, I doubt. I think this is just going to be another one of those weeklies. Fair enough, GG's. And then we'll be seeing him again. Hopefully he does a little bit better. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't get steamrolled. Didn't look comprehensive either. So we'll see how Base reacts to that.
Feels like that's naturally what happens. Every time we see Base and Vengeurr go head-to-head, it always seems to be a 2-1 these days.
Yeah.
Which is good both ways. It's good for the players because they're evenly matched, and it's good for us because we get to watch some good games. We have 2 more series left to go before this night is done. And while we set up the next one, we're going to go for a short break. Don't go anywhere because this is week number 6 of the Quake Pro League Stage 2. Don't go anywhere.